Okay, guys. So how are we doing tonight? We all well?
No, we're getting you.
100%.
Hundreds.
It's good. So just to our Talking League fans out there, it's our first Zoom conference call, if you'd call it that, a Zoom podcast. It's something different, but we're adapting. This is the new world we live in, and we will still keep bringing you football content. So, of course, you know your hosts, Jared, Ashton, and myself. And I think we just dive straight into this. And I'm going to bring up the first topic, boys. It's one that's bugging me. The current rule is that we're allowed 5 substitutes, and now they're saying that they've approved it for next season, 5 substitutes. What are we for or against it?
I don't know. I think 5 substitutes is a little bit something to change the whole game. I mean, in a way it's good, but also in a way it's bad because, I mean, sometimes the team takes the whole game to adjust or work out their strategy, and then all of a sudden, as soon as something gets going, there's almost half a new team that you're playing against, and strategies need to change. So the teams that adapt well do well, but the teams that struggle a little bit, especially you can see it now, like the teams that generally play into the game are struggling a lot, whereas guys that are very adaptable are doing well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like it includes the water breaks as well. Like it's all strategy kind of things, you know.
100%.
So a fresh strategy and fresh legs always does something, in my eyes.
100%, yeah.
Actually?
Yeah, so my opinion is, like, for example, you have to look at it at both aspects. If you had to look at a player's point of view, if they're always on bench as well, it's always nice to come on and play. But I think for a professional point of view, like Jared said, it also changes up the game with tactics as well, because clubs that have a lot of, how could I say it, like a lot of investment into the club, they could easily buy a lot of players and then change up the game with super subs and then create a whole different aspect to the game for the likes of Chelsea, City, even the likes of Tottenham now. But a lot of different teams that have a lot of investment, they can start pumping their bench a bit more to improve their gameplay and everything second off as well. And it also like relieves some players because, for example, if you get a player that plays every single game, the problem is, you know, he's going to get unfit the whole time. So at least he has that break the second half. So it does give a different edge for energy levels for players in the first half and second half. And then also, like the manager's point of view, it could actually mess up the manager's tactics if he throws in all 5 subs, let's say, for example, in the second half, because not a lot of players will be adjusted to the game. Because obviously if you bring a player on, then obviously it's a new, fresh approach. And the problem is, in that type of instance, the tactics must be changed. The gameplay they're not used to when they come into the field. So there's a lot of aspects looking at it as well. But for me, for example, I do maybe approve it, because the problem is, you know, you do want that super fresh approach and you do want the game to maintain its level, to always be entertaining, for example, because you don't want to see a game where everyone's tired and everyone's holding on to the game.
Yeah, for me, and it's funny that you mentioned the fact about teams that would have the financial power to fill their benches. I find that a bit of a disadvantage for the likes of newly promoted teams, as well as teams that don't have a lot of money to go and buy players. I'm just going to look at City because they tie into the next topic I want to talk about. They could have a star-studded bench, bring on 5 game-changing players, and Burnley might be holding on to it, and then all of a sudden they're completely out of it. So from that aspect, I would be against it. And Jay mentioned the water breaks. I think it was Jay that mentioned the water breaks. I'm completely against it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It breaks the flow up of the game. The players don't need it. The players don't need it at all. It's ridiculous. I think it's a waste of time. I think it was good for the first 1 or 2 games, getting back off the post-lockdown. But now it's not needed anymore. And they want to even try and introduce it next season. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, it's not a water break, it's a tactical break.
Exactly. Absolutely exactly that. And then actually on your point about those teams that have a lot of money to buy those players, it ties into my next topic, the whole Manchester City ban being overturned. You saw my comment the other day in the WhatsApp group. I acted like I was surprised, but no one was surprised. We all knew it from day one that was going to happen. They literally took money, threw money at a problem that was about money, and got rid of the money problem. So what is your take on being a Manchester City?
Exactly. My take, for example, there's a lot of teams with, for example, if you look at the ban itself, the fact that it's to target City, our fans, we're very passionate about our club, and every time there's this game, you hear it, you're like, hey, I don't want to say it over the camera, but like, we are against City, it's your City, sorry, against Champions League. But the problem is with that type of ban, I don't think it is viable. But at the same time, we need to be fair as well to other clubs with that financial decision, because from now on, we're obviously going to see our spending. Obviously, that's what I would do if I was the owner. But I think the ban was also a bit too small for the fine, because per minute, the owner of the club makes £115,000, and in like a matter of 3 hours, you can pay it off cash. So you need to look at an aspect to the point of where you're going to actually give a ban, or because if you're going to ban someone, it means they've done something. So the thing is, if you're not going to give that ban or that fine or whatever, then why bring it up in the first place? Yeah.
Jay,
but it's both ways.
For me, if they came out not guilty, why did they have to pay a fine in the first place? But if they are guilty, I don't see how you can get out of a ban, because I mean, it wasn't just a small ban; it was a 2-year ban, and I mean, a 2-year ban is a long time, if that makes sense. So if they're not guilty, I think the fine was a bit heavy. But if they are guilty, I don't think that justifies it at all. I really think it should have been a ban, in my opinion. Sorry, Ashley, but that's just how it is.
No, 100%.
I mean,
100%.
I just feel if it was any other team, like let's say like the likes of Leicester
PSG.
or Wolves or anybody, they like another English team, they would have had to face that 2-year ban. Not to say that they would have got into the Champions League, but it's just they would have had to face that 2-year ban or pay a massive fine.
You see, that's
100%.
If they were guilty. And if they weren't guilty, I don't think they would have had to pay anything.
Exactly.
And it's more than just the financial problem it would have been for City if they had to face a 3-year ban. Think about how many of those players wouldn't have stayed, because they're not getting exposure to Champions League no matter how well they do. So why would they stay? And in fact, I don't know if Pep would stay. He did say initially that he was going to stay and stick it out, which makes me think, number one, he either knew that the ban was going to get overturned, or number two, he's truly loyal to his City.
I know. He's got something good with City, and he has for a while. So I wouldn't get rid of it something if I was doing really well there, if that makes sense. Like
100%. Yeah, and it's not just say as well, like we're not like out of top 4, for example, for our investment. So the fact that we can still remain top 3 with that type of investment, it does show the quality as well. But for example, with that investment, if it was made and we're out of top 4, then I would be complaining. So yeah, that's the only thing.
Actually, I want to get your take on something. Some Spurs fans are irritated that we are winning games with only 30 or 35% possession of football, and they're not happy with that. What is your take? I mean, I would rather take 3 points in boring football than exciting football but losing every second or third game, week in and week out.
Okay, so my take, for example, if you look at even the French, when they played in the World Cup, they also didn't have a lot of possession in games. And for me, example, I love possession. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it doesn't really take passes to win games. Most of the time it does it with the key passes and creates the chances. But for example, you can look at Arsenal against City, like previously. They had like no possession at all, and they beat us by 2 goals. But it also depends, like for example, if you're going to take shots, you need to take it purposely. And like the problem with Tottenham, sometimes, even though they don't get much possession, they do get punished. They do get punished. But the problem is when you get teams like, for example, like City and let's say Liverpool, example. I know Liverpool's a strong team, but in the last few games, you could see possession doesn't really win anything, because the problem is if you're not going to take your chances, you're not going to take your key role in the game to either pass it to the right player or keep it at the right time, you're not going to be able to win games. And now, if I had to look at City, you can always see we win possession. But for the likes of like Arsenal and Tottenham, they're not really possession based, but I think they know how to take their chances. And you saw, like for example, Arsenal, Aubameyang had 2 chances and he took them, and then City had so many chances they didn't take them. So it's also the key figures that also needs to take up their role in a certain teams. But I love possession. Don't get me wrong.
Jay, I haven't spoken to you much about that whole thing yet privately, but what is your take on it?
Do you know what? The way Tottenham have been playing well at the moment, they've been doing quite well. The thing is, you've got to adjust your strategy according to the team you play. So we did really well with that counter-attacking football last night against Leicester, but you can't play counter-attacking football against a team that counter-attacks like we did against Bournemouth or the lower league teams that are used to their own counter-attacking football. So that's when it became very boring because both teams are waiting on each other. And for me, it was just a roundabout thing. It's not something I want to see from Tottenham. So it all depends on the game. Last night, Leicester had a lot of shots, but we managed to hold them out. And we're able to counter-attack, and we're able to find their weakness. On their right back was left sitting for all 3 goals. It's just finding the correct place, So I have been frustrated with Tottenham's play leading up to the last couple of games. And lots of people are saying like we're playing brilliant football in certain aspects, and that's true. But I mean, there's always ways to improve, and I don't know. It's difficult. I enjoyed yesterday's game, and I enjoyed the last 2 games because I've just had a different outlook on it, I guess. But I mean, we can't go and play counter-attacking football against a counter-attacking team. It's just not gonna.
Yes, 100%.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just, the way I've seen it is spot on, like what you said. Against your bigger teams that aren't afraid to come out and play, our style would suit that because we can sit back, 2 banks of 4, and just defend in the counter. Kane can hold it up, Son and all that can go for us. But when we're playing against teams that also just sit with 2 blocks and just defend the whole game, and I'm going to trigger a lot of Spurs fans here, we do miss Eriksen for games like that because he was able
100%.
to pick that certain pass out against those teams that are breaking, or have a shot from far, and he was bound to get it on target, left or right foot, which we unfortunately don't have that at the moment. Not to say that Lo Celso won't be that player. He's still got to grow into that role, but Eriksen was absolutely spot on, great for us for that.
Yes,
100%.
And I think also Lloris has really stepped into his boots because remember that after he did call out Son, he's become like the world-renowned keeper, the World Cup winning keeper that we all know. And I think last night was testament to that because he was man of the match for me. I know Kane got a brace, but for me, Lloris was man of the match because he controlled that game. He made some phenomenal saves and he manned that defense like an absolute champion.
100%, yeah.
So just guys like, because Tottenham also have a young team. We have to remember that. So it's calling on guys like that for experience. And if the guys that are experienced and have been there for a long time are siring the apple cart kind of deal, then the whole team's going to be like that. So you need that motivation in the older guys, and then the younger guys will follow. And I think we're lacking that. I see some of that has come back with the likes of Alderweireld when he scored that goal and he had that man of the match performance just the other day
against Arsenal.
So, best day ever.
Yes.
Amen.
100%. But I just want to ask you a quick question. So if Kane, let's say for example, had to leave Tottenham,
Let me block in Ashton immediately.
Because look at United, for example. If they had to reach Champions League and Kane would want to move out of Tottenham maybe this summer or whenever, do you think they'll actually let him go? And would you guys be okay with him leaving to Manchester United?
I would never be okay with Harry Kane leaving, but it's his choice, I mean, if that's the right thing for him to do in his life or in his career, and he feels that's what he needs to do, I mean, all for it. I mean, who am I to tell him not to do it? I think it would make a massive change to our club, and it will give us a bit of a whack. But at the same time, I see how loyal he is and how involved he is with Spurs in his everyday life, and I just don't see that. And he's very much on his way to being Tottenham's all-time greatest striker. I don't see him giving that up. I mean, he's from North London. He's grown up in London. I don't see him. I mean, I think he would have done it already. I think he made a statement not too long ago that his options are always open. But I think it's also just to help the actual management of Tottenham open their eyes, I guess.
Yes, 100%.
Take notes a little bit and realize that things aren't serious. And if things aren't going to go the way that the players want and the manager wants, then they're not going to stick around. And I think that was just like a direct message to them.
Yes.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. And another thing that could be in our favour as Spurs fans is that him and his wife just announced their third baby that's on the way. So that might tie them down for another season or two. And you know what? Gareth Bale was the same. Gareth Bale was also very open and vocal about being loyal to Tottenham. And the rumours started that he was going to go to United. And thank goodness he never. I don't want to see our best players going to direct rivals in that sense. I know United fans will say they're not rivals, they're better than us. But what I'm saying is for that, like top four, you don't want to strengthen the top four with your own players.
Yeah.
I'd rather see Kane go to a Real Madrid or possibly even a Bayern Munich and go and achieve great things there without hindering himself. We don't want to do that to the player at the end of the day.
No, very true.
Actually, are you
Do you know? Hey, it looks like he's frozen.
Just you and me, Jay.
That's fine. He gave up. Like Man City against Arsenal. But actually, when you watch this later, you're going to be very cross.
Wait, he's trying to come back in. Let me just accept him into the chat show.
No problem.
Maybe he just went to go and cry a little when he realized.
It's going to I hate to say this, but Chelsea played really well against United last night. And some of those younger players, who's that? Is it James? I think it's James.
Reece James, the left back.
Yeah, wow. That guy was a champion last night.
Yeah, he's decent.
Very good.
Man. He's a decent player, and same as Mason Mount as well. A bit inconsistent,
Yeah,
but
Mason
he's a
Mount.
player.
Yeah, but I've never seen that the James play before, and last night I was like, wow! I actually took a moment and I was just watching what he was doing, and he's through balls, he's crossing, his defensive play, he's tracking back, very good.
So then we move on to the FA Cup final. I know we all want Chelsea to win because we don't like Arsenal, but what do we honestly think is going to happen?
Well, to be honest, if an FA Cup final could end in a draw, that's exactly what I wish upon those. Both London rivals of ours, but hey, Ashley's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I see Chelsea pulling it through. I mean, they always do at the end. Even if they've struggled in a campaign and they get to the final, 80% of the time they've converted, and it's been like that since 08 even, 06.
When we beat them.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and I don't see Arsenal doing that.
We hope not, at least. We would never live it down if Arsenal won some.
Oh, no, that's so true.
But I think Arsenal has I know you guys don't really like Arsenal, but the thing is, I think Arsenal have a great chance because of their form. But if they lose their form before the final, obviously, there's no other way than Chelsea winning it. But I could see Arsenal's form, like the way they're improving with Aubameyang, with the way they're improving with Lacazette coming in now and then. But I think Arsenal needs to improve their gameplay in terms of keeping the possession a bit more, because the problem is even against City they've lost a lot of possession. Even against a few opponents they've lost a lot of possession. And the problem is with Arsenal, they like to get cocky after they score the first goal or the second goal. And a team like Chelsea, I think, are very, very possession-wise, and I think they are going to make them suffer a bit in the final. I think it's also Chelsea's time to also give their reputation of last time when they were in the final with UEFA, I think. And then obviously keeping that status of being victorious over rivals, obviously being Tottenham and Arsenal, but for this case, Arsenal. But I do think it's going to go Arsenal's way. If I could see if they keep this form, but if they do not keep this form, then I'm going to have to say Chelsea.
Wow.
What are you saying, Shane?
Yeah, Ashley is right in the sense they're in good form. And I think it's all due to the fact that Arteta made two vital changes to their team. He got Guendouzi out as well as
Yes.
Ozil. He's frozen them both out the squad. I'm sure you guys all saw what happened with Guendouzi against Brighton, and that's since then he hasn't played again or been in the matchday squad.
Yes.
So that's a good thing because that's always been Arsenal's problem the last couple of years. They've had egos in the team that are more concerned about beating Tottenham, but they could finish stone last in the league. As long as they beat Tottenham, they're happy. I think Arteta sees the bigger picture, which is a bit of a worry for us for next season. However, Arsenal will always be Arsenal, and they'll just concede goals.
Yes, 100%.
I see Chelsea undoing them in the final. Giroud coming back to bite his own team.
The Arsenal, their keeper has saved them a lot in recent times. Like I said at the beginning of the season, Arsenal have such a strong attacking team, but if your defense doesn't match that, you're going to score a lot of goals, but you're going to concede just as many, and that's how their season's gone so far. I mean, so often they've gone from leading at half-time to losing the game,
100%. But I also think, for example, like David Luiz, he has picked up his form. I think now he's actually performing like he is David Luiz, the way we used to know him before he went to Arsenal. But I think he has improved his form over the last few games. And I think Mustafi as well, I think he's also done well. I still think Pepe needs to improve. His passes are now and then, but the problem is he needs to gain more attacking sense and not always dropping back the whole time and needing to always go back to the defender to be able to get a pass and stuff. So I think he must also be free with his runs on top like Aubameyang, receiving over the tops as well. Yeah.
Are you sure you're not an Arsenal fan?
No, not at all.
Let's your shirts up. You probably got an Arsenal shirt underneath there.
No, it's only Portuguese.
Actually, I have to tell you something. I'm not going to mention anybody's name.
Yeah.
But I knew he was an avid City supporter when we were in school. And this whole year, all I've seen him post is Liverpool posts.
What?
So he's all of a sudden become a Liverpool fan.
No, call him out one time.
I'll tell you guys once we offer this thing, and then you guys know him both. You both know him, actually. You both met him.
Wow.
And I just found that it's crazy because I went back into Facebook and I was like, I'm sure this guy was a City fan. I'm sure as Bob, I've got a photo of him wearing a City shirt. And then this whole year, every single time Liverpool have played, he's been posting the results and saying, "Come on, boys!" And
no way,
that's on WhatsApp was "You never walk alone," and I was like, "Wow."
Okay, that's it.
So, I don't know if that says something about City fans or Liverpool.
No, not at all. Not at all.
The latter.
Not at all.
So, boys, before I just want to close off the Zoom call, but in closing, I want to get your guys' views. Are we going to be playing football again, club football in South Africa anytime soon?
I don't see it happening.
You don't, Ashley?
My view, I think my view would be, I heard like rumors. There's always rumors about lockdown ending. It will be very, very good for us to play. But I think in order for that to happen, there has to be a bit of a vaccine, or there has to be a sense of, personally, I wouldn't wear a mask the whole training because you can barely breathe when you do fitness. Now you want to still put on a mask and then you barely breathe there as well. So I still think about maybe a few months, maybe 4 months, 5 months, max, maybe even less. I might be proven wrong, but I do not see it anytime soon at all because it would be beautiful if we can get on the pitch and, start playing and keep league games going. But I would love to see Diski come back. I would love to see Pirates and him playing. But yeah, that's the only thing. I couldn't really see it coming anytime soon.
I think where South Africa stands on the global scale in terms of infections and the whole, we've skyrocketed into like the top 5 in the last couple of weeks or so. And I just think in terms of our lockdown and our safety, I don't see it really happening. I know I saw the little cricket game that happened this weekend. like domestic cricket, and I thought that was quite good. So it all depends, but then again, cricket's not like a contact sport per se. So I don't know. It's something that's out of our control, and you see how they're doing it in the Premier League, and but I mean, it's so rigid, and I don't know. It's also the interprovincial travel, and also the stands, and the money that needs to go behind into supporting something like a football league with no spectators and things like that. And then I don't know.
Yes,
it's I would love to see it. And also at a pro and amateur level, such as ourselves, or just straight up amateur. I don't see that happening this year.
No, that's
Look, from my side, I'd absolutely love it back within a heartbeat. Logistically, I don't think it's possible, if I'm very honest. And from certain sources inside the football community that I've spoken to, it doesn't look like we're going to go ahead this year at all. But you know what? If you could tell me we won't play football this year, but we'll be saving a lot of lives, possible lives from COVID losses and that, I'd take that any day of the week. Obviously, lives come before football. So we just got to respect the process at the moment and just keep ourselves fit and hope for the best. But boys, before we get kicked off the Zoom call, I'm trying to give the fans a quick cheers and shout outs, and then we will end tonight and we'll hit it again sometime next week.
Cool. Actually, you up or me?
Okay, I'll go. So guys, I just want you guys to know that we're still here. We're still thinking of you. I know it's been a while since we've had a podcast or a video session. I just want you guys to know that, we are here for you in the time of this pandemic as well. Some of you might have lost loved ones. Some of you might know of people that have the virus. But I also want you to know that you must never give up, because, we live in a world that, even though there's negativity, you must always stay positive, always stay humble, always stay graceful. I think in a time of also the sports coming back, just be happy. Soccer's back. It's finally back, There's a lot of countries now opening up as well where you can watch better. There's going to be fans coming up soon, maybe in October, maybe a bit later in the Premier League. But what I want you guys to know is at least soccer's back, that you guys must be happy about that. And I'm happy about it. I'm loving to see City play again. I'm loving to see football again. And I also think you guys must also just play at home. If you guys have a small garden, if it's in your house, just irritate your mom a bit. But thanks. Hey, guys must have an awesome time. And Jared, it's you.
Hey. Okay, guys. So I just wanted to say I miss you lots. I just wanted to also say that the grass is always greener on the other side. No, it's just that we have missed you guys a lot. We've missed football I've missed chatting to these guys week in, week out. And there was something that was, I'd say, missing from my life, if that makes sense. I think a lot of us, the things that we are familiar with and our day in, day out livings changed a lot. And I think a lot of people were affected by it. And I just think having sport back has brought back a sense of community to the people around us within my friend group, family group. And it's just a way of, so sports is more than just something that you watch on TV. It actually brings people together. It gives people reason to communicate again, and it gives us something to talk about. So I'm glad we are able to do that as well. You can always reach out to us. We've always prepared to have people on our show as well. And it just creates a sense of community again. I think it's been lacking in the world around us. And I'd love nothing more to reconnect, with people around us. So yeah, much love, guys. Just keep safe. And
much love.
Yeah. And remember, grass is always greener.
On Jared's side. Yeah, that's it from us tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. This week we probably have a guest coming on later on in the week. But yeah, guys, thank you very much. If you're out there, need to talk, like the boys say, we're here. And I can't say anything more than these two have said. They're absolute legends. Love you, boys. Love you, fans. Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Guys, power.